These people probably thought that they made this decision on their own, but not actually knowing that they are victims of something called social conditioning. Social conditioning is a long-term cognitive and psychological manipulation. It is a method of reproducing the mind of people, and it starts from childhood. So you won't even know that you were being reproduced. In this video, I will discuss 4 ways in which people are being reproduced. And number 3, actually explain why these grown-ups ended up with pants, patter on the street. Now, out of these 4 types, the first 3, to which virtually everyone is, of course, exposed to, usually end unpleasantly. Sorry to say, there are people that are actually doomed to end badly. Usually, these guys will flaunt their lifestyle, but they go silent when the consequences of their action catch up with them. So you never get to know how it ended. John 1:13 mentioned the 4 types of birth, and number 1 is birth by blood. Of course, every human being is given birth to by the union of his or her parent. But there is a limitation with this, because when you pick up the gene of your parents, somehow you are liable to bloodline issues. You pick up their genetic problems like diabetes, heart problems, arthritis, and the rest. And of course, because you are born of blood, you will die someday. These are limitations. Number 2 is actually birth by the will of flesh. Flesh here refers to your desire and passion for pleasure. You see, pleasure is actually desirable or enjoyable to every human. As humans, we are actually different with a wide spectrum of personalities, because our susceptibility and discipline towards pleasure differs. What we enjoy or choose to avoid is not the same as what others prefer. And that makes us different, even though we are all humans with blood. That is another kind of birth. The third is birth by the will of man. Most of your life choices are actually influenced by people. You may have been bittered, betrayed, disappointed because of what people did to you. And that has gone a long way to influence how you behave or respond to people or to life. How people treated us in the past goes a long way to influence who we become, producing a kind of us. Just like in the video below, the government, politicians, occultic groups uses social conditioning to influence the behavior of the masses. All right, so when you see large groups of people behaving in a particular way, you can be sure that somehow there is the influence of somebody somewhere. When you hear things like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, whatever, it's a conditioning. It's conditioning. All right. So how can someone sit somewhere and they're already telling you that there is Gen Z, there is Gen Alpha, there is Gen Beta? How was that determined? It is determined or predetermined by what is called social conditioning. And that is why every parent must be the first contact point to influence their children. This leads to the sweet fourth birth, which is birth by God. Now, birth by God actually overrides the first 3 births and their shortcomings. And this is why we call it being born again. Now, though you still have your physical body, you still have all this natural tendency and all, but what God does is that He deposits a spirit inside of you, and that spirit now influences you for total transformation. Now, this is how this transformation happens. When you receive Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, what happens is that God deposits a spirit inside of you to adopt you as His own. All right, so the bloodline of your parents no longer have any effect on you, even with their genetic issues. Spiritually speaking, you don't belong to your parents any longer. You belong to another bloodline. Also, a new eternal body is actually prepared and kept for you to be used after this present world. This present earth is going to be destroyed and a new one will replace it. With your new eternal body, you will be able to exist in the new life. Also, the Spirit of God in you will moderate your desires for pleasure. The things you find pleasure in or that you will do will not be influenced by the will of men or by your own pleasure, but they will be influenced by the Spirit of God. Why? Because you are born of God. Every Christian youth that subdues pleasure is far superior to every pleasure-driven individual. Don't let them deceive you that, oh, you are missing out. You are not missing out. You are rather preserving what they long lost to pleasure. A person that is born of blood, of the will of the flesh, and of the will of man is called a natural man. But a person that is adopted and born of God is called a spiritual man. The difference is in how they live and how they will end their lives. But better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. Thank you very much for your time. Please subscribe or follow if you want to see me again. Share, like, or comment on this video if it means any value to you. This is Pathfinder. Our aim is to build and strengthen the faith of Christian youth globally with sound doctrine and wisdom. See you in my next video. Thank you very much for your time.